Louisville, Kentucky, September 1960. A Saturday afternoon, warm and bright, the kind of day that feels like possibility. Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. walks down 4th Street, wearing his Olympic gold medal around his neck. He's 18 years old, 6 feet 2 inches, 178 pounds, the most famous person in Louisville right now, maybe the most famous person in all of Kentucky. 3 weeks ago, he stood on a podium in Rome and received this medal for winning the light heavyweight division at the 1960 Summer Olympics. He beat Poland's Zbigniew Zakowski in the final, representing the United States of America on the world's biggest athletic stage. The medal is heavy around his neck. Not physically heavy, it weighs maybe half a pound, but heavy with meaning, with promise, with proof that Cassius Clay is somebody, is going somewhere, is more than just another black kid from Louisville's West End. This medal means something. It has to mean something. Because if it doesn't, then what was the point? What was the point of starting boxing at 12 years old after his bike got stolen? What was the point of training every day for 6 years, of missing parties and dates and normal teenage experiences? What was the point of going to Rome and beating the best amateur fighters in the world? The medal means he matters. That's what he tells himself as he walks down 4th Street. The medal means America sees him as equal. The medal means things are different now. The medal means he can go anywhere, do anything, be treated like the champion he is. He's wearing the medal outside his shirt, wants everyone to see it, wants people to know who he is, what he accomplished. And they do see it. White people on the sidewalk notice, some nod, some smile, some stop and ask to see it up close. Is that real? They ask. Did you really win that in Rome? And Clay says yes, beaming, proud, showing it off, telling them about the final fight, about how he dominated, about how he made America proud. A man stops him, shakes his hand, says, "You did good, boy. Real good." Clay doesn't even register the boy. Too happy, too proud, too convinced that this medal changes everything. He's hungry, hasn't eaten since breakfast. His mama made him biscuit and gravy before church. But that was hours ago. He passes a diner, sees people eating through the window, smells hamburgers and French fries and pie. His stomach growls. He reaches for his wallet, counts his money, enough for a burger and a Coke. Enough to sit down and eat like a champion, like an American hero, like someone who matters. The diner is called Big Boys. He's been past it 1,000 times, but never inside. It's not technically whites, only Louisville restaurants aren't segregated by law anymore. Not officially. Not after the sit-in protests earlier that year. But there are rules everyone understands. Unwritten rules. Unspoken rules. Rules about where black people can sit, what they can order, how they need to behave. But Cassius Clay isn't just any black person. He's an Olympic champion. He has a gold medal. He represented America. Surely the rules don't apply to him. Surely this changes things. He pushes through the door. The bell above jingles. Conversations stop. Heads turn. 20 people in the diner, all white, all staring at the black teenager who just walked in wearing an Olympic gold medal around his neck. Clay walks to the counter, sits on a stool, puts the medal on the counter where everyone can see it. The waitress behind the counter is middle-aged, blonde hair pulled back, tired eyes, coffee pot in hand. She looks at Clay, looks at the medal, looks at the other customers, looks back at Clay. "Can I help you?" she asks. Not friendly, not unfriendly, just flat. "Yes, ma'am." Clay says, polite, respectful, the way his mama taught him. "I'd like a hamburger, French fries, and a Coca-Cola, please." The waitress doesn't write it down, just stands there holding the coffee pot. "You from around here?" "Yes, ma'am. West End. But I just got back from Rome. From the Olympics." He touches the medal. "I won this. For America. Light heavyweight boxing." She glances at the medal. "That's nice. So can I get that hamburger?" She sets the coffee pot down, wipes her hands on her apron. "Let me check with the manager." She disappears into the back. Clay sits there, waiting, the medal gleaming under the fluorescent lights. A few customers whisper to each other. An older man in a booth shakes his head, goes back to his newspaper. A woman with 2 kids hurries him out of the diner, like something dangerous just walked in. The waitress comes back with a man in a white shirt and black tie. The manager, he's maybe 40, balding, thick around the middle, has the look of someone who's had this conversation before and is tired of having it. "What can I do for you, son?" he asks Clay. "I'd like to order some food, sir." "Hamburger, fries, Coke." The manager looks at the medal. "You win that in the Olympics?" "Yes, sir. In Rome. 3 weeks ago. I beat." "That's real impressive." The manager interrupts. "Real impressive. But we don't serve Negroes here. Not at the counter. Not in the booths. You want to order something, you can get it to go. We'll wrap it up for you. But you can't eat here." The words hit Clay like a punch he didn't see coming. He sits there, stunned, processing. "But I'm an Olympic champion. I won this for America." "I understand that. And congratulations. But the rules are the rules. I didn't make them. I just enforce them." "What rules?" "There's no sign that says, 'Son, you know how things work. This is a private establishment. We reserve the right to refuse service. Now, you want that food to go or not?'" Clay looks around the diner. 20 white faces staring at him. Nobody saying anything. Nobody defending him. Nobody standing up and saying this is wrong. This is unjust. This is un-American. One man, older, in a booth by the window, catches Clay's eye and nods slightly. Not agreement. More like sympathy. Like he's sorry, but what can you do? That's just how things are. Clay looks down at the medal on the counter. The medal he wore with such pride. The medal that was supposed to change everything. The medal that apparently changes nothing. "I don't want to go," Clay says quietly. "I want to sit here and eat, like everyone else." The manager's jaw tightens. "Son, don't make this difficult. You seem like a nice kid. You won something impressive. But you need to leave. Now. I represented America. I won this for... I don't care if you won 100 medals. You're not eating here. Now get out before I call the police." Clay stands, picks up the medal, puts it back around his neck, walks to the door. Nobody says anything. Nobody apologizes. Nobody even looks at him. Outside, the warm September day feels different now. Colder somehow. Darker. The medal around his neck feels different too. Heavier, not with promise, with shame, with rage, with the dawning realization that it doesn't matter what he accomplishes, doesn't matter what he achieves, doesn't matter if he stands on a podium representing the United States of America, he's still just into the people who run this country. He walks. Doesn't know where he's going. Just walks. Ends up at the Ohio River. The same river he's walked past 1,000 times. The river that separates Kentucky from Indiana, the South from the North, though the division is meaningless because racism exists on both sides. He stands on the bank, looking at the water, takes the medal off, holds it in his hand. This piece of gold-plated metal that was supposed to change his life. This symbol of achievement that apparently means nothing. Later, when people ask him about this moment, he tells different versions. Sometimes he says he threw the medal in the river. Sometimes he says he lost it. Sometimes he says he gave it away. The story changes depending on who's asking and when and why. But the core truth remains the same. That day, September 1960, Cassius Clay learned that winning for America doesn't make you American, not really, not in the ways that matter. The story of him throwing the medal into the Ohio River becomes part of his mythology. Some historians say it really happened. Others say it's symbolic truth rather than literal truth. Clay himself, after he becomes Muhammad Ali, tells a reporter in the 1970s, "I don't remember if I threw it in the river or lost it. What I remember is the feeling. That medal meant everything to me, and then it meant nothing. That's what I remember." What we know for certain is that Cassius Clay came home from Rome as an Olympic hero, and within weeks understood that heroism has conditions, that achievement has limitations, that you can climb to the top of the world and still not be allowed to eat at a lunch counter in your hometown. This moment, whether the medal went into the river or not, is the moment Cassius Clay starts becoming Muhammad Ali, not the name change, not the conversion to Islam. This realization that the American dream is conditional, that it has asterisks, that it promises equality but delivers something far less. Fast forward 36 years. Atlanta, Georgia, July 19, 1996. The Summer Olympics opening ceremony. 1 billion people watching worldwide. Muhammad Ali, now 54 years old, stands in the center of the stadium. His hands shake uncontrollably from Parkinson's disease. His face, once beautiful and expressive and capable of selling a fight with nothing but a smile, is now a mask of rigidity. The disease has stolen his voice, his movement, his ability to express the personality that made him the most famous athlete on earth. They hand him the Olympic torch. The assignment is simple: light the cauldron. But his hands won't stop shaking. The torch wobbles. The whole world watches this man who once floated like a butterfly, who once proclaimed himself the greatest, who once had such perfect control over his body that he could slip punches by millimeters, watches him struggle to hold a torch steady. Janet Evans, the swimmer who carried the torch before him, stands nearby, wanting to help but knowing she can't. This is Ali's moment. His alone. Ali raises a torch. His whole body shakes. He steadies himself. The flame touches a mechanism. The cauldron ignites. Fire races up the side, spectacular and beautiful and symbolic. The crowd erupts. Not polite applause. A roar, a wave of emotion that sweeps through the stadium and around the world. People are crying. Athletes are crying. Announcers are crying. Because everyone understands what they're witnessing. Redemption. Full circle. The country that once refused to let him eat in a restaurant, that stripped him of his boxing title for refusing Vietnam, that called him traitor and coward, and worse, that same country is now giving him this moment, this honor, this spotlight. And the International Olympic Committee does something else. They present Ali with a replacement gold medal, a new one, to replace the one from 1960. Whether he threw the original in the river or lost it or gave it away doesn't matter anymore. They give him a new one 36 years later, with trembling hands and Parkinson's disease and 1 billion people watching. Ali takes the medal, puts it around his neck, and for just a moment, through the Parkinson's mask, you can see it. A smile, or something like a smile, a recognition, an acknowledgement that the 18-year-old kid who couldn't eat in a diner and the 54-year-old icon lighting the Olympic flame are the same person, separated by 36 years and a revolution and a complete transformation of America and himself. But here's what the ceremony doesn't show. Here's what the billion viewers don't see. After the stadium empties, after the cameras stop rolling, Ali sits in a quiet room with family and close friends. Someone asks him how it feels to have the medal back. Ali, who can barely speak anymore, who has to force every word through the disease, says something that his daughter Layla later recounts. Doesn't change what happened. Doesn't erase 1960. Nice gesture. But the medal didn't matter then. Doesn't matter now. What matters is what I did after. Who I became. What I stood for. Because that's the real lesson of the medal story. Not that America took something from Ali and then gave it back, but that Ali learned at 18 years old that external validation medals, titles, fame, acceptance doesn't define worth. That you can be an Olympic champion and still be treated as less than human. And that recognition forces a choice. Accept the system's valuation of you, or reject the system entirely and define yourself. Ali chose the latter, became Muhammad Ali, refused Vietnam, lost his title, gave up millions, went to prison, became the most hated man in America, and then years later became the most loved. But through it all, he never again placed his worth in what America thought of him. The 1960 medal, whether in the Ohio River or lost or given away, represented the last time Cassius Clay believed that achieving within the system would grant him equality. The 1996 medal represented the system acknowledging that Ali was right to reject it, right to demand something better, right to refuse to measure his worth by their standards. 36 years. 2 medals. Same man. Different understanding. Who in your life is still chasing the 1960 medal, still believing that if they just achieve enough, accomplish enough, win enough, they'll finally be accepted? And who's learned what Ali learned, that acceptance from a broken system isn't worth having, that you define yourself That external validation is meaningless if it comes with conditions, because that's the choice. Chase the medal, or throw it in the river and become something the medal could never make you. Free. Ali chose freedom. It cost him everything. It gave him everything. And 36 years later, when they gave him a replacement medal, he understood something the 18-year-old couldn't. The medal was never the point. How you respond when the medal doesn't save you, that's the point. September 1960. An 18-year-old champion learns he's still not equal. July 1996. A 54-year-old icon proves equality was never his goal. Greatness was. Integrity was. Self-definition was. The medal didn't give him that. The refusal did. The rejection did. The moment he stood up from that lunch counter and walked away and understood that he would never again measure his worth by their acceptance. That's the lesson, not the medal. The walk away from the diner. That's when Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali. He just didn't know the name yet.